What's up and welcome. We are going to be talking SurrealEstate. I know it's July, but we're all ready for some spooky stuff, and we have an awesome guest in the house. We got the one and only Tim Rozon. Woo! Welcome.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and then we'll introduce ourselves as well. My name is Kari Lane, and I'm awesomely excited.
You're awesome.
I'm just excited. Thank you. I'm joined by the awesome. There we go. Yael Tygiel.
I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to talk to Tim again.
Yes. So we're talking SurrealEstate. It'll be coming out on July 16th on SYFY. It's going to be a fun show. We got to check it out. And Tim, why don't you tell us about your role in the show and how did you find out about this project?
Yeah, I play Luke Roman, who is the owner of the Roman Agency. And I've kind of put together this team of one-of-a-kind specialists that specialize in selling houses that nobody else can, being that the houses that we sell are all haunted. And side note, P.S., Luke Roman has the ability to talk and see dead people. So he's got that going for him. The whole thing came about, to be honest, while I was filming the second half of Wynonna Earp. So I was in Calgary and I was dealing with that, because we were also the first production in Canada to be back during COVID. So there was a lot going on. And then this audition came through and I was like, normally, to be honest, I don't audition too much when I'm filming Earp because I'm, you got to stay in it. But I read it and I was like, oh, that's good. That's a really good script. Yeah. And then it's funny because I was filming Wynonna Earp, for all the people who've seen it, no, but for anybody who doesn't know, I have quite the mustache when I'm playing the role of Doc Holliday. So I do remember meeting George Olson via Zoom, the showrunner, creator, and head writer of SurrealEstate, trying to convince him that I was right for Luke Roman, and he had a little bit of difficulty getting past the giant mustache on my face, and I cannot blame him. I cannot blame him. He was like, yeah, I think you're great. You're hitting the beats. It's just this mustache. And, I can't shave. I'm, Doc Holliday on Monday. So there was no way I was shaving.
Nice.
I'm so impressed that they could see past the mustache and, you're right for this role and it feels right. For the Earpers who maybe are only familiar with you as Doc Holliday, what is it that you think they're going to love about this character?
It's difficult to know what they'll love about the character, but for me, I know what they'll love about the show is kind of what they love about Wynonna. And it's that found family, and family is what you make family to be. And for me, that's what the show is. It's not the Luke Roman show. I think it's about the gang of people and the relationships between those people. I say this, it sounds a little cliche, but I don't mind because I kind of like cliche. Each episode we're dealing with a different demon, but to me, the most interesting part of the show is the internal demons that each of the characters deal with throughout the show. And I do know the Wynonna Earpers, they appreciated that. There was definitely those moments where they could see parts of themselves in that. And I think we handled it just quite elegantly on SurrealEstate. It's great to be a part of another show that I'm very proud of. And I'm very lucky to go from Schitt's Creek to Wynonna Earp to now this one. They're just great shows to be on with great messages, and I'm very proud to be a part of them.
Yeah, and SurrealEstate is, in my mind, scarier than Wynonna Earp. I would say, as a viewer, I was terrified. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about staying in this kind of supernatural, I would say, horror, terrifying horror genre?
It's interesting because SurrealEstate itself, I don't think kind of sticks there. We really, really embrace the comedy. and especially as the episodes keep going. I mean, Sarah Levy's in the show. She's hilarious, and all the cast is, to be honest. You know, Savannah Baisley, people will know from Wynonna. She's just hilarious in any scene she does. Morris Dean Wint, Adam Corson, Tennille Reed. They're funny. They are great actors. So they bring a lot of comedy. And I think once everybody kind of got us together and saw we had this, you know, comedic timing with each other, kind of chemistry, we lean into it, which is great because people deal with a lot of things with humor, especially horror or when you're scared. So yeah, for me, I think it's like I always said, you know, the cooler thing too is that a lot of the supernatural shows are make-believe. Like Wynonna, there was moments where you're just out of it. Whereas, you know, we were fighting a tentacle or something. Like we literally did. That was, I think, the season 1 finale. But the cool thing about SurrealEstate is instead of it being make-believe, it will make you believe.
Oh.
That happened to me because I don't know about you guys. Do you believe in ghosts?
I do not.
I didn't either until we started filming the show. And we were shooting in Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland, a western part of Canada. It's a little island off the coast. And it is notorious for having a haunted history and all these old Victorian homes that have supposedly spirits among them. And I was like, whatever, this means nothing to me. Also because of COVID, the house that they had production had put aside for all the guest stars who had to come in quarantine. It was this beautiful, beautiful Victorian, pretty much mansion. So it was like a great, you know, they had this great spot, bring everybody in. You want everybody to feel welcome and everything. But almost 90% of the guest stars that stayed at that place all had some sort of reaction.
So did you see anything while filming?
I didn't see anything. Sarah didn't see anything, but both of us every day were like, everybody can't be lying to us. You know what I mean? This is a lot of people coming in, having a weird experience. So yeah, have I experienced anything? No. Am I a non-believer? It's tough for me to be, because I'm not lying. You needed to see the reaction of some of the people. It's like people left. They were like, we're out of this mansion. The mansion's not good enough. Put me in the Motel 6 up the street because I cannot sleep in that place. Yeah, so I don't know, something going on there.
So would the prospect of a haunted house deter you from, I mean, clearly you did spend the night in one, but is that something that would ever be like a nope for you? Or are you like, sure, I don't care?
I mean, now I'm a little more, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not one of those people who would definitely go out looking for the haunted house to stay in.
Yeah.
I'm more of, you know, I don't know. Does it have a queen size bed?
Okay, yeah.
Right. Does the shower work?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't go looking. I don't know. I'd be more hesitant than before, honestly.
Okay. Now you had mentioned the comedy of the show and the previous shows you worked on, also throwing out some Vagrant Queen love there too. They all kind of have a fun and quirky atmosphere to it. And would you say that, what would you describe the humor like in SurrealEstate? Because they all kind of are adjacently very witty humor and almost a little on the drier side. But how would you describe the humor for SurrealEstate?
I think you just nailed it really well. George Olson, the showrunner, I can't say enough things about him. It's interesting you said Jem too, because again, Vagrant Queen, because Jem Gerard, the showrunner, writer on that, I found her incredible. Just her scripts, and I mean, Jem, she knows what I think of her in person, but her scripts were so strong. Each episode was so good. You know, I couldn't put down the page. I was like, I hope we can do this justice. Same with George. Those scripts are so good each episode that I was literally like, okay, if we could just do what he's done on the page, on the screen, we're fine. We are fine, because you can see the comedy, but you weren't sure if you could go there. Is that a joke? But once we kind of just said, I think it is, you know, and you went with it. We started finding the momentum and the you know, the feeling of the show.
Was there much room for improv, or a little bit of both? Of sounds like the script was, you know, a great foundation, but were you allowed to play around with it as well?
I mean, anybody who knows me, I'm just a goody two shoes. I'm not a big improv. I mean, I find moments, to be honest. Like, there is moments I like to find, and there's definitely ways I think I've played scenes that people were like, "Oh, that's not the way I saw that was going to go at all." But there's so much there in the scripts, and I try and, you know, as much respect as I have for the writers, and, you know, somebody else put a lot of work into this. It's tough, but I mean, other people love to improv. You know, Varun Saranga is a genius at it. Honestly, he's a genius. No, Sarah and I kind of stuck to what was there because there was so much. Also, there was so much, which is hilarious because Sarah and I we bonded over that from day one. Because anybody who watched Schitt's Creek, the people who literally talked the least was Twyla and Mutt. And, you know, anybody who saw me on Wynonna, you know, Doc brooded most of the time. Whereas Luke's got a lot to say. So it was mainly just trying to get all that information out, to be honest.
You mentioned, you know, working with Sarah, who was on Schitt's, and you mentioned Varun and Savannah, who was on Wynonna. Tell us about, you know, reuniting with people that you've worked with, but in this new place, in this different, because Savannah's playing a completely different character, so different.
I mean, I can't speak for her, but I think she felt exactly what I felt, which is when I found out I was most likely going to have the role of Luke Groman. The first and only question I had was, who's Susan? You know, who's going to play Susan? Because all my scenes at that point were with Susan, like all the audition scenes and screen test scenes I did were with Susan. So it was Susan. And they said, well, we're really reaching out to Sarah Levy. And I was like, oh, goodness. It's like, I can't even tell you. It was everything you could, I mean, joy, like just happiness, peace. Because don't forget, it was COVID. I wasn't going to be able to go home. I was going to fly straight from finishing Wynonna to Newfoundland, no trip home in between, and start a new production. And yeah, you know, I've been on a lot of shows, but this was the lead of the show. It's the first time in my life. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years, but it was the first time that technically my name was at the top of the paper. The first thing I wanted to do was get rid of that. I said, we got to lose all the numbers because I hate those stupid numbers. But there was that pressure. And the best relief of all was knowing it was Sarah. And I think for her too. So I just called her and are you doing it? She says, are you Luke? And I said, are you Susan? And then that was it. And it was, you know, because you're going to be nervous showing up to a new set, a new production. You know, I left Wynonna. I've been with those people for 5 years. That was, you know, part of an extended family. I got to go meet a whole new family during a pandemic. I don't know anybody. I was very fortunate. You know, Paul Fox was our first director. I worked with him on Schitt's Creek. Denishka, Esther Hazy. I had just worked with her on Beggar and Queen, and I absolutely fell in love with her on Beggar and Queen. She is one of my favorite directors, maybe all time, that I've ever worked with. Follow that up with Melanie Scrofano. Anybody ever heard of her? I have.
We do actually. On that note, we have a question from the chat. So what was it like working with Mel again, but on a different show?
You know, for me, the greatest kind of thrill that I had was just watching her not be Wynonna. Like, honestly. And I don't want to spoil too much, but she's great in the character that she has, because she guest stars before directing 2 episodes, but she is a guest star. And I don't think anybody else would have brought to that role what Scrofano did. So it was great. I mean, that was another one of those moments. It was great because it was kind of near the beginning. So it's like any nerves I had kind of subsided because Sarah was there and I was already, okay, we can do this. And then same with Savannah. Like, I called Savannah right away and are we doing this? And she's like, oh my God, really? we're going to do this again. I said, yeah, well, let's go. So, and then, you know, as soon as Mel and I were on set, everybody knew immediately. I mean, if they hadn't known before, they were just like, oh, this is like, you guys are like, you know what's going on. And we're like, you know, they just knew that we were quite close. We definitely worked together, and we had quite the professional relationship. I think it was evident to a lot of the crew. And a lot of them said something to me after, like, just like, wow, watching you two together was really something else. And that feels nice, you know? And then that was like, after that, it was just any nerves or whatever was gone. And yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about having her as a director.
Well, yeah, it was great because I felt for her. You know, I mean, she had directed Wynonna Earp. But like I said, that's our family.
Right.
There's such a safety net there. You know, there's such a safety net. And she was incredible on Wynonna, one of my favorite directors on Wynonna. And I think one of my all-time favorite episodes was one of hers. And one of my favorite moments ever in the history of the show was when she was directing us, when we were all chasing the Nedley monster. And I could just remember her behind the monitor watching us with this big smile and so proud of us. And it was amazing. I just saw her like, God! And I was, you know, proud and like, she's killing it. But imagine I'm nervous. Like both of us were kind of going through parallel things because this was her first directing job outside of Wynonna, out of the family, and you got to prove to the crew, to everybody. So I think it was great we started with the episode because we started with her guest star first, and immediately the crew can see the talent there, you know, and they can see the rapport we have together already. So the base is there. And then I think, you know, a lot of people, to be honest, were already fans of hers, some of the crew. So there was already an excitement there. But you know, she had a lot to prove. She proved herself, and I thought she was great. You know, I built her up a lot to everybody before, you know, she showed up. I don't think I didn't, you know, talk about her or try and support her before she showed up to everybody, you know. And I just remember I was telling Sarah, like, oh wait, you're gonna love her. She's great. You're gonna be hyped. And then, you know, all the actors love her. She's an actress. Who doesn't want notes from one of the best actors around? Give me the notes, you know, and I'm good with notes. I kind of need direction. I'm actually good with direction. I like it. I think I should have been a soldier, honestly, in the war or something. Like, I'm like, just tell me what to do. Or I'm like a puppy. Like, what do you need? Go get the ball. I'll get the ball. I'll get the ball. Go get the ball. What do you want now? I'll do that.
Speaking of taking direction and then having to really digest a lot, you have to essentially learn the world of real estate for a show that it's interesting to combine horror and real estate. So what was that process like of having to learn all that new vocabulary and make it sound natural?
Mm-hmm. You're so good. You're so good. You're so good. You notice all the right things. It was scary. I knew nothing, honestly. Guys, I knew nothing about this stuff. I knew nothing. And that was another thing that I was very happy to have Sarah, because both of us would call each other like, what are we saying? What's happening? But it was great. Like, I learned a lot. Like, I learned that if a house is not haunted, but implied to be haunted, then it does affect the market value of that house if you're trying to sell it. Just because someone said they experienced something there, whether or not there was proof or not, that will impact on the house's resale value in a negative way. It will, you know, and if something happened in that house of a nefarious nature, that of course, yeah, will impact also the resale value of the house, or, you know, although there is those people who love that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask that too. I'm like, does anybody like more jump on the chance? But
yeah, well, no, that's the great stuff. Each episode will find all these type of people, you know, because we're dealing with not just the homes, but the homeowners, the home buyers, the houses themselves. That's why the show was so fun, because each episode was a new house that we were dealing with, sometimes multiple houses, which is a different thing we had to deal with in different ways.
Nice.
So is there a chance that you will now start going into real estate?
No.
That's fair.
No.
Now, you mentioned you're examining the house. Tell us a little bit about your team. We've had hints of it's kind of a family, and if people have seen the trailer, we get a glimpse at some of their interesting contraptions and how they analyze a home.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have the fallen priest, Father Phil, played, wonderfully by Adam Corson, and he's the priest. I guess that's the old school Ghostbuster, the original Ghostbuster, if you're going that route, And then we have the new school, the exact opposite of him, the August Ripley, plays by Morris Dean Wint, who's kind of like, he's just my favorite, to be honest. Wait till you hear him talk. He's just the best. He kind of builds the gadgets and the gear we need that could capture the soul or spirit of something that has passed on to the other realm. And then you have the scene stealer of all, Savannah Baisley, Zoe. And she kind of runs the entire office. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I'll say it anyway. A second. And then of course we have Susan Ireland that comes in. And I think Susan is just a really good realtor, maybe the best real estate agent around. And I think Luke knows this. He knew all about her and her accomplishments before that. He had a lot of respect for her. And to be honest, Father Phil and August aren't great with the people you're trying to either get to buy the house or sell the house from. Whereas Susan you can put Susan in and just know she's going to close the deal. August and Father Phil and Zoe, they'll close the door to the gate from hell, whereas Susan will close the deal on the house. So then we all come together and we just make up this team of magical misfits.
Susan feels like the eyes in for the audience. She is the one who is going to explain this world to us so that we as viewers can understand it.
There is so much more.
We have another question from the chat. Vicky wants to know one word to describe your character best.
Vulnerable.
Oh, wow. Not the word I would have chosen.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because I do believe people are going to think one way about Luke when they first meet him, and they're going to think, oh, that's that type of guy. And as some of the layers unfold, mostly in scenes with Susan, because I think he trusts her in a way that he's more comfortable to let that guard down, that bravado that maybe Luke has. We'll see some things about him that he's a little wounded.
Okay.
Now, we're talking a little bit more on what's on the inside. Now, on the outside, what was it like for you for wardrobe and hairstyling for this show? Because you generally are very well dressed on your shows. This one, you have very slick suits. You got the dark hair. What was that like for you?
It was it was great. I mean, I remember getting in the hair and makeup trailer and everyone was there. And normally they don't come in there, the producers and everybody, but everybody was just like, what are we going to do with this guy? I showed up straight from Earp. I had long, greasy hair, the big mustache, my English tracksuit, a Metallica t-shirt, like just not Luke Roman. And then, it's a testament to the team they put together. Productions are so amazing. And I can't tell you how valuable it was to have a great team, because even after that first haircut, it was a great haircut. Yeah. Daniel did an amazing job. And then Sky did the makeup, and then they put me in this first suit and it was already fitted perfect to me. You already almost immediately start feeling the character. And like you said, it was totally different than anything else I did, which is great because when you're doing new characters, you want to find something different than all the other characters you did. So immediately it was kind of like, ooh, this is weird. I kind of stood a little straighter too. I was, and then you could just kind of get into Luke.
Did you ever reach for your gun? You're like, where's my gun?
I didn't reach for the gun, but I did remember before when Mel and I were doing our scenes together, right before we would do a scene as our new characters, I would say something like, "Wynonna, where is Alice?" And then action, and she'd be like, and then we'd get it. So there was some nostalgia of the characters, especially when Melanie was there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That kind of sounds a little bit like a prank. Is there much jokes and pranks on set?
I mean, we definitely had a great time, which is so interesting because I kind of like, I really felt like this cast had great chemistry. And especially, and I felt it immediately when we were working together, but even outside of that, we were immediately we were bubbled together in the pandemic and, we had no choice but to like each other, but we really did. Like we all got along, we all got along really well. And I wondered how production was able to do that because this was during COVID, the screen test was via Zoom. There was nobody else there. I never met anybody, other than Sarah and I had worked together or Savannah and I had a scene together. None of us had worked together before. And I remember that first day in the office where we had the big office scene with all of us together. I think all of us were very excited after. It was like, ooh, this works nice. This works nice, which is a great feeling because you felt everybody really brought something different too, which is nice.
And speaking of bringing kind of nostalgia and homage to one of the early scenes in the episode, we have a very much reminiscent of The Exorcist. Are there going to be other moments that allude to other horror icons, essentially?
Yeah, you're so good. You're just so good. That was all Paul Fox. Paul Fox directed the pilot episode, and he is a huge horror buff, Exorcist fan, and there is all kinds of Easter eggs throughout the 10 episodes. I mean, the directors were all on their own thread. That would be a better question for all of them. Danishka did give me a little bit more information but they were all in a thread talking about, how it would look and the feel of it. I mean, they deserve so much of the credit of how this show just looks. And Jackson Farrell, the DOP, he just did an incredible job and the direction. And I think they were all excited. No one had really worked in that genre before, except for maybe Danishka. So they were all excited to get into this, and they were all in a thread about, and the other director is Paolo Barzman. I've worked with that director more than any other director in my career, and he's one of the most wonderful men I've ever met, and just one of the best directors around too. Also, so and he loves movies. They all love movies, and so they definitely put in those Easter eggs.
Awesome. Well, I think we have time for one more question from Kari before we got a wrap.
Yes. So the film does deal with special effects. Can you talk briefly about what it was like? Did you have much practical effects, and how were the special effects, like, before we get to see it, and then what was it like seeing it afterwards all done?
That was my biggest thing, was like, coming from some sci-fi shows, I was like, I hope the effects look good. You really hope they look good coming out the game. And when I saw the first episode, they nailed it. I thought they did incredible. I hadn't felt that look of a show before. And it had that right level of horror, and I believed the things I was seeing. But my favorite stuff is the practical effects. I think they look the best, like the scene in the pilot, the first episode that everybody's going to see where the books are flying and Susan and I are selling that house for the first time. I mean, that was just two grips hiding behind the cameras, literally throwing books at each other, getting hit with the book, and or the good old fishing wire. I love that stuff because there's literally somebody probably next to my hip pulling on a wire, and I'm just acting like everything's normal, doing my scene. It makes making movies fun, It's that kind of stuff that I really love. But I was very impressed with the special effects. I was very pleased.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. Everybody, SurrealEstate is going to be on SYFY July 16th. That is a week from now. That is next week. Do not miss that. Thank you again, Tim, for being here. Kari, where are you on the internet? So if everyone wants to keep up with you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. You can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE across all the social media platforms.
Awesome. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, FANVERSATION, for more SurrealEstate. Also, if you're a Leverage Redemption fan, the Leverage Redemption official after show will be airing on Sundays with me on Electric Now. So check that out. And for more, stay tuned to FANVERSATION. Thank you again, Tim, for being here. We love having you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I love talking to you guys always.
Thanks.